Welcome back, empowered couples, to Living with the K's. So about a week ago, we gave birth to our baby girl, Karia.
A week ago from when we're filming, not from when you're watching.
Yeah, a week ago from when we're filming. And we just wanted to talk about our experience and shed some light on how to have an empowered experience while giving birth to your newborn.
Did you feel empowered that week?
I did. I definitely did. I mean, I feel like I didn't know what to expect. There was a lot of, I don't even know what contractions are and like, am I having them or not? Is this pain real? Is it fake? There's a lot of stuff that you're just like figuring out. And then when it hits, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
If she didn't know, I definitely didn't know.
Yeah. So we actually had done some acupuncture right before. So we have a doula, and acupuncture is one of the ways that you can start to induce labor. So our doula came over, I can't remember around, it was probably like 7, 8 o'clock that night. We did some acupuncture, and then all of a sudden I started feeling pain. So I was like, all right, like let's start timing this. And then we used an app, and it was like, okay, you should go to the doctor now or go to the hospital. So we're like, all right, this is happening. But little did we know, like labor is a lot longer than you think. And we were nowhere near
time.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So
well, the acupuncture sort of gave us like a false start a little bit.
Yeah, because we still had like over 12 hours left of labor. But so yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, but I think once we got to the hospital, it was a good experience, right?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's as great as it could be.
Yeah.
But you're at a hospital at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what the hospital is, you're at a hospital.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of things that we didn't know what to expect. For example, when you are in labor, you can get nauseous and throw up. So when that started happening, I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah. I think maybe just to like take a step back, I think it was my idea to say like, hey, we should absolutely do a segment on this.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there was a lot of great information, especially for me as a partner, in ways that I could support. I mean, you Google things and you talk to people. I think we were so focused, at least in my case, on what would it be like after, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to manage? How are we going to deal with everything?
Right.
That
versus the experience once you're actually there.
Never even bothered to like ask people. Like that's probably one of the most like significant moments. And people would give me advice in passing, like, oh, just be there. Like, don't worry, you'll figure it out. And I kind of felt like, yeah, maybe, but if I knew more, I definitely would have been more prepared and would have been able to support better. And I think we winged it well.
Yeah.
Because we were present and in there, but we just felt like it was so important to do an episode immediately after while our experience is still fresh. We had things that we could share that could be helpful to other couples. And so that's why we thought it was so important.
Yeah. So we have some tips and lessons that we want to discuss. I think one big one for us is ask questions. Ask so many questions because you're going to get a bunch of different opinions. Like I think we were pretty much around the clock being like poked, and people were coming in and then like poking our baby, and like everyone had a different story. So
yeah,
our big thing was like, oh, can we get a second opinion?
And everyone thinks they know what they're doing until they prove to you that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, even the nurses, like at one point, they're like, oh, let's put this needle here.
Like they like put an IV in my hand in the wrong place, and then said that the other nurse put it in the wrong place, and then they had to poke me again and then re-put it in. So I was like bruised all over my hand, and then we just didn't know who to trust after that. So,
and a lot of the doctors and the nurses, they make statements saying like, we're gonna do this,
right,
when really they should be asking, but they skip that point.
Right.
So I would say like it's a suggestion, they're strongly suggesting it, but they're
like
always
you don't
suggesting.
have to do it. For example, for us, like we were very much like potentially would do the epidural, but it wasn't set in stone. And the way the doctor approached us was, oh, we're definitely going to do Pitocin, which is another way to induce you and get you into labor quicker. But she didn't phrase it as like, oh, are you open to doing it? We had gone into there like, we really don't want to do it. So it was actually the nurse that told us, oh, you could just say no.
Yeah, because they were going to do it a lot sooner and earlier. And this is sort of what we were saying a little bit about the false start. Like the contractions after the acupuncture were pretty close. And then a couple hours later, they started to fade again.
Yeah.
And then they were more spread out. So I definitely, had we known, we would have probably waited it out at home for a little bit longer, maybe even a day longer before we went in.
Yeah, but it was really painful, so I don't know. I think another thing is if you are planning on breastfeeding, start pumping that same day that you give birth to your baby. While we were there, they like told us how to use the pump, but didn't actually say like, oh, you should be using it now. It was kind of like, oh, this is how you use it.
They didn't even like initially bring the pump in. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I think we called or asked her. No, the baby she was crying.
Yeah, we
And then
asked.
someone at the desk was supposed to come over and see us.
Yeah.
They hadn't come yet, and so we then reached out and asked the person at the desk, and then the person at the desk came in and they saw there was no pump in the room. And they brought the pump in but didn't do anything.
Yeah, so
and, like,
it's
didn't
definitely
tell
just
us.
like educate yourself on what you want your experience to be like. If you're planning to do formula, you want to bring that in as soon as possible. But if you are planning to breastfeed, you want to get that pump because like that's how you're going to feed your child in the beginning. So,
And the sooner you start pumping, the faster your body starts to produce.
yeah.
Oh, and there she is. You can hear her in the background.
Pain management. So Kareem was absolutely amazing. Like the second I was in pain, he like knew pressure points and like how to massage and like just touch the right place so that it would make me not think about the pain. But there are other options too. Like there's something we use called a TENS unit. So we would like turn that up, and that anytime you got a contraction, we would use that to like counter the pain. And I think that was
Oh,
amazing.
our doula was definitely super helpful.
Yeah.
And just like telling me in the weeks leading up to it
Right.
what that looked like.
Yeah. And then when you actually get to the hospital, they have things like birthing balls, peanut balls, just like knowing the position and like how to kind of breathe through the pain is important. And that was not taught to us either. So
And some of the nurses were actually pretty good. Like
Yeah.
if you ask them to, they will help you.
yeah.
And so I remember one of the last ones, I'm forgetting her name, but she was like, all right, when I come back, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and these things are going to help. And I
Yeah.
definitely think that made a difference.
Yeah. And then another tip for the nurses, we got them all gift cards, which was really great because, you know, while you're there, they give you all of these like free things for when you get back home. And then like when they have like a Starbucks gift card, they treat you even better. And we were there an extra 3 days.
That was a tip we got early, thankfully.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to take them, but, you
Yeah.
know, build that relationship and they'll take them and it'll pay off. It's worth it.
Yeah. And
Those are all yours?
Yeah, I think that's
I mean, I was told leading it up to it that you just go and you're gonna like help out, and I didn't really even know what that meant. I had people telling me it's gonna fly by, and it was true. So much of it is a blur and it does fly by. And so my first like tip is there's definitely a lot more that you could do besides just packing the bag. I feel like when we finally got there, you need to be the advocate. Like as Kadesia mentioned, like a lot of pregnant people are nauseous when they're first going in, and so you're nauseous, you're not
and in pain.
you're in pain, you're not like really thinking about that. I started reaching out to like communicate with our doula. I was able to reach out to family and like keep them updated, give them progress reports on that. Definitely documenting the journey. I feel like we have our reels, like
Yeah.
we're making reels throughout it. You know, you have to time it, be compassionate. Obviously, there's a lot happening, a lot of emotion going on in the room and in the space, but you have the ability to do that. The music, like there's right times and wrong times to play music, and,
Yeah.
and definitely there were moments where it paid off and
Yeah.
was like great. And then as soon as we started pumping, helping like burp, I think
Yeah.
that like helps give a little bit of a break.
Yeah, we quickly learned just like how to be parents with like the extra days, and I think that was like a great bonding experience too.
Yeah. But even just little things like,
Yeah.
hey, after you're done,
Like I'm gonna wash
pumping.
this for you. Yeah.
yeah, like you need to get ready for the next pumping. And so I know it's hearing horror stories about folks having to deal with that all on their own, and that was a way to really like be able to help out besides just being there and packing bags and moving them.
Yeah.
The other one I'd say is like savor the experience. Definitely like big tip of mine, and it was just such a coincidence. I run a weekly newsletter called The Learning Loop, and one of our questions was like, what is something that I need to be savoring right now that I'm going to look back at in the future and come back to? And one of the reasons why I thought this was so important is because this really is like a big milestone moment in your life. I would definitely put this up there with like our wedding day
Yeah.
experience. You know, it's one of those defining moments. You're going to reflect back on, you're always going to remember it. And so I just wanted to make sure that people could do anything and everything they could to make it that much better. And so the entire time I was there, I was extra present and trying to savor. And so I was asking myself, like, how are you feeling in this moment? Just like looking into our daughter's eyes, like even like embracing the fatigue and saying like, this is how I knew I was going to feel. Like I thought ahead to what it was going to be like in that moment, but then being in the moment, being present, heightening that sense of awareness, and then just like thinking into the future a little bit and looking back at this moment to ask myself, like, what more do I want to have happen now that would make this an even better experience for both of us and for our child? And so definitely like savoring that moment, actively engaging in it, I think is another like big tip.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And then the last one I would say is music, but not just any music. We had like classical music playing, and that put Princess Karia to sleep.
Yeah, she loved that.
That gave us a few extra hours some of the days that we were in there. And then the other times, obviously we had our comfort music, the Afro beats playing, and the nurses were joking. They're like,
they're like, from classical to whatever this is. That was something, yeah.
But we had fun.
Yeah.
You
we
know,
made the best out of it.
And we went in there thinking we were going to be in there for a day and a half, maybe 2 days. And this is, again, like going back to like not being trusting of everything they say.
Yeah. And it's also like having a backup plan because things are going to change. So,
yeah. So we went from like 2 days to
5 days.
To 5 days we were in there. But wouldn't trade them for the world. Definitely feel like we did it right. If we had a chance to do it again, then we could definitely do it even better. But hopefully you all could take the lessons, the tips from our experience and make your experience that much more comfortable and better. And if you all have ever any questions or need more, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah. And then just some things to reflect on. Like if you are in a position like this where you're thinking about giving birth or you're pregnant, like what does an empowered experience look like for you? And then thinking through how your partner can help you to have that experience that you envision.
Yeah, because you can definitely do a lot. Even just the pumping, I remember that little experience.
Yeah.
The beginning was so frustrating.
Yeah. And then like everyone's learning. The baby's learning, you're learning.
To latch. And then what did we do? Like we turned it into a game, and like every single time
we did.
You know, we just found a way to make it fun, you know, like, okay, like we beat last time, like new record. So I definitely think there's ways to make the experience more enjoyable than just like having to go through it.
Yeah.
So, and we were fortunate, right? No complications, baby's healthy, mom's healthy. Just so grateful that we had the ability to do that together.
Yeah. And then I'd say the last thing to kind of think through is having a backup plan. Like you should definitely have your birth plan, but no, things are not going to go the way that you envision. Things can always change, so have multiple plans.
Be flexible, be open.
Yeah.
So that's all I have.
Yep. Good on my end too.
All right, we'll see y'all in the next episode.